Good evening, dear friends. We are still here at the FIGIEFA Conference 2024, Driving Mobility. Right now, we have with us the Managing Director of Auto Distribution International, Manuel Van Royen. Thank you for being with us, Manuel.
Thank you for inviting me, Alvaro.
Well, it's certainly a pleasure to have you because ADI is one of the main sponsors and one of the main supporters of FIGIEFA. It's one of our member ITGs, one of the biggest players in the independent aftermarket right now in Europe. And about that, we want to ask you, why did you choose to support the FIGIEFA conference? Why this moment is so particularly important for our sector?
Yeah, well, Alvaro, let me first explain that AD International was the very first ITG, even before the name ITG existed. We tried to federate a number of companies who had the same interests and the same needs. And actually, meanwhile, we have developed into a group of covering more than 40 countries, representing more than thousands of distributors or distributor outlets, and we have a responsibility to do that. And from the beginning, we have been supporting FIGIEFA, and obviously we are also supporting any event which is organized by FIGIEFA, such as this conference.
Well, and we appreciate that. This particular moment, as you know, is crucial. We have a new commission, new parliament in place, a new regulatory framework for the next 5 years. What do you think are the main trends and the main issues impacting our business as independent distributors, but also as the main enablers of the broad independent aftermarket?
Well, Alvaro, I think I'm not going to tell you any secrets. The trends are obvious. The first one is obviously technology. Not just the technology is changing, but also the way people look at mobility is changing, and this is, of course, closely linked to the technological possibilities, options which are available. First one. Second one, I think is also obvious, it's sustainability, which is also a very difficult, let's say, topic in our markets, in our sector, because we are mostly by consumers perceived as the ones who are maintaining cars which are polluting, which is basically the opposite, because by supplying the parts for all these older cars, we are keeping them in the market and we are actually sustaining them and keeping them longer on the roads. The third one is actually, it's a geopolitical situation which is closely linked to economy, obviously, because it has an impact on purchasing power, which again has an impact on the sales in our business and the way people look at mobility and so on and so on. So technology, sustainability, everything that has to do with green, and last but not least, the geopolitical situation.
I would say that those three elements, specifically the aspect of purchasing power and together technology development and sustainability, specifically crucial when it comes to one of the biggest phenomena in the market, electrification and software-defined vehicles. How would you explain briefly to our audience is this phenomena of electrification affecting the aftermarket right now?
Well, let me first of all explain what we are doing in our group, because what we find in our markets is that markets are moving at a different pace. Some markets are very advanced when it comes to electrification, others are far less. And this precisely is for us as a group an opportunity, because we can actually exchange. This is what we have been doing since 1970, bringing people into contact with each other and having them exchange experience with only one objective. It's to improve their business. It's to develop or help them develop their business. Now I forgot your first your first question.
Electrification.
Electrification. Well, the biggest challenge for us is not so much electrification, because we just heard that electric vehicles have, on average, less parts. I think they said 800 parts, whereas a combustion engine-driven vehicle would have thousands, 2,000, 3,000 parts. The problem for us is that both will be simultaneously on the market, including also other technologies. We have talked about hydrogen, we have talked about many other ways of propulsion of cars. And the problem is that we see in the market a proliferation of parts. And this has to do with investment, with capital, with warehouse surface, and so on and so on. So for me, this is one of the biggest challenges. And actually what you see in our group is that our partners are investing in warehousing. Central warehouses, but also local warehouses, to have the parts, to have all these parts close to the customer.
Certainly one of the main technological advancements that is affecting our business. If you would come to any other technological trend that is affecting your daily business when you serve independent operators and workshops, and also innovations that you as ADI are undertaking for actually facing these kind of changing times in the industry?
Yeah, obviously there's many innovations. I can see some partners are using advanced robotized systems to manage their warehouses. You know, garages, they tend to order less parts and they want to have them very quickly, so we have to adapt our logistics systems. This is one thing, but I think one other important topic is artificial intelligence. And this is an innovation which is still relatively new. But you can imagine, as a group of many countries, we are sitting on a lot of data. Data about the cars, when they break down, at what age, what mileage they break down, what parts are breaking down, etc. This information we collect in databases. We don't do this ourselves. We have companies who do this for us. And what we are actually doing now is apply the artificial intelligence model on this data to better use it, to use it more efficiently to the advantage of our customers.
Okay, so AI indeed is still the point of the iceberg that we've seen, but probably will be in the near future one of the main elements in distribution and logistics as well. You told me earlier that maybe in a few years' time you will be already retired, but I want to have your forecast, your prediction of what would be the market maybe in 2030 when we have the end of this political term in Brussels.
2030 is not so far away, actually. It's only 5-6 years. I will not be retired, for sure. What I think, and we actually see it happening a little bit, there has been a hype a couple of years ago for electrification. Then everybody in our sector was worried for the reasons we mentioned before, less parts, less breakdowns, etc. But now we see that the trend is slightly turning around, and even car manufacturers who are at the basis of this technological evolution, they are under pressure of the reality of the market. They are now shifting again and saying, well, maybe the technology of the future will not so much only electric cars, but will be like hybrid cars, a hybrid system. And then surely we will have electric applications. They are here today, they will remain today, but it will not be the total market. Surely we will have some combustion engines who will remain using e-fuels and better technology and so on to be less polluting. So if you want my opinion, the market in 5 years or even in 10 years' time will not be all that different. The only thing which and this is also a function or a task of ADI, is to have a vision for our partners. And we are, and you mentioned at the beginning of this interview, you said FIGIEFA, driving mobility. This is actually our slogan. So it's what we do. So we don't look at cars anymore, we look at mobility. And this is the way our partners also are going to evolve. All of them at the same pace? No, obviously not. Some countries will be ahead, other regions will be a little bit behind, but in the end, the change will be gradual and we will have time to adapt. This is my conviction.
I suggest we meet same time, same place, 2030 here. We will analyze what happened in these last 6 years. Then, if you are interested in more activities that ADI is doing, you will find underneath this video. Stay tuned. Thank you very much, Manuel.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening.
Thank you, Alvaro. Thank you very much.